What is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I am DJ Wang. He is the very one DJ Dub. With our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
Hey, JJ Wang, it is wide receiver week. Are you excited?
Oh, I'm so excited. I mean, there's so many to choose from, man. They're it's just abundant. They're like potatoes. They're just everywhere, like corn. Where we live, it's just everywhere, man. There's just so many of them.
I did my rankings and I was like, I had to add a couple more. Then I put stars for other guys. I mean, when you start two receivers and a lot of teams have two really good receivers, it's so hard to bank. And it reiterates your draft running backs thing, even though I still want to draft a wide receiver.
I started doing the rankings. I got to like eight or nine, and after that, I was like, I feel like all these guys are pretty much the same. I got to figure out who do I think is the better from like wide receiver 11 to 20. I mean, or even the 24. I mean, there's all of them are. There's just so many.
It sounds like quarterbacks, how we were with quarterbacks as well. So but yeah, if you're jumping in, we are the Fantasy Couriers. Hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're all over the place. Information in the linear notes here. You can email us at thefantasycouriers@gmail.com. Pop comments on YouTube. Hit up our website. Our website really is just a giant page of links. We have this dream of writing one day and adding content to that. We'll see how it goes as we go. We're just right now just happy to be celebrating over a year of podcasting. You're listening to us on usually Apple Podcast is the most popular, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Google Pods, Spotify, anywhere. We're all over the place. We are growing. People are hearing of us. We even, in a few weeks, will have official Fantasy Courier t-shirts. So we'll tell you about that as the time comes, and we'll introduce you to they're being donated. Some of the first ones are being donated, so we have a third sponsor. We are growing. People are wanting to be part of Courier Nation, JJ Wang.
I mean, why would you not? I mean, we're fantastic.
Like, hey, why would you not? So, cool thing is, we discovered through this that both of our birthdays are on the same day of the week every year. So, we're recording on my birthday. So, I got something cool. I want to give my brother a shout out. There was a new DJ Dove microphone. I got it in the mail on Friday, and I texted him. I said, "Dude, you must think we're legit. Buying me a nice fancy microphone." And I did a voice text and I pushed send, and then all of a sudden the words on the text changed. That I purposefully do not swear over the internet or on text that I wrote a swear. I wrote back to him. I said, "Dude, you know this is literally the first digital swear word I have somewhere," and it was just funny. I was like, "How does this?" I think the word "this," and I was like, "How does this become?" And I was like, "Wow!" I was like, "How does this happen?" I was like, "But yeah, but I got a cool microphone. It sounds like it's picking up a lot of other things, so we could be hearing the basement pretty soon."
I mean, it sounds good. I mean, it sound a little louder than I think you sound a little louder than normal. You sound putting yourself out there a little bit. Sounds good.
You got to see more of my body though. That's the catch
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
video.
it's true.
More of this handsome dolphin shirt I put on for just for the show today. But yeah,
Now,
so
I mean, I might have to give me another one now just to make sure I keep up with you.
hey, I love my old one. I should have sent it with you last night. But yeah, so we did also have just had our auction draft, and just in 2 minutes we'll tell you about it. I know JJ Wang is the most excited auction draft owner in that league. I personally did something I've never done, and I went big money early. I went with Justin Jefferson. I said Justin Jefferson $50. And no one responded. And I was like, hot dog. I was going to pay 55, $60 for him. And then I got Justin Herbert as well. And then I had to set for a while. I paid a ton for those two guys and built around them. But I built a running back team. That is so not me, JJ Wang. But your team is hilarious. I love what you did. It's something that I think every fantasy owner should have more than one team, and they should do this for at least one of their team. And what did you do?
I mean, I just drafted all my favorite guys on one team. I completely drafted with my heart. There was no brains in this. A guy popped up that is my Michael Pittman, had to have him. Trey Lance, had to have him. Michael Pittman, did I say Michael Pittman?
Yeah, he said Michael Pittman.
Brandon Ayuk, had to have him. The only one that I wasn't really a fan of was Elijah Moore. Right? I just
Yeah.
took I just took him out of nowhere, but now I'm all in on Elijah Moore. He's my next big next big wide receiver. So go Jets.
No, it goes, oh, Dolphins show. It goes to my theory that I talk about football. I said you got to enjoy it. Now you have the other teams that you build intelligently, trying to think about what you got, and you're trying to build with your dynasty or whatnot. And this team, you can just root for with your heart and have fun.
They're all under 24. I only got one guy over 24.
That's hilarious. So we'll keep you updated how it panned out because I did look at the scores and you're projected to get annihilated.
Oh
But
yeah, absolutely, 100%. But you know what? I like my. It's, like I was telling everybody last night. This could probably be one of my favorite teams ever. At least
you're
I'm
batting
going.
his
At
Bears.
least I'm going to go into it really and really loving this team. So you know what? I don't care.
Well, they're young. They could pick up at the end of the year, and you could do
But
good in the.
but if I win, I can talk a lot of smack.
You
So
sure can. So
short term.
as we go, we had fun. If you've never done an auction draft, one guy was new and he's like, "This was pretty cool. I've never done it." I told him about other kinds of auction drafts, but yeah, it was a blast. We it took us a good 4 hours, and we it was the first year that the whole league was balanced. Usually, like somebody spends a ton of money, and other people like me are cheap. But this year, we all we would do pauses to updates, we would just get through, and it was really cool how it panned out. If you ever want to do it, I have our spreadsheet. I can make you a generic version. You can just keep everything on there. It keeps all the numbers. It was just a blast. But it's time for Facebook questions. Jared T was asking in a keeper league where they got to keep a keeper and you give up the round in the draft of this year. Trey Lance in the 11th or Justin Herbert in the 5th?
Well, like I said, if I'm going with my heart, I'm probably taking Trey Lance in the 11th. But Justin Herbert in the 5th, I mean, that's typically where he's going anyway. So I mean, if you're a Justin Herbert fan, keep Justin Herbert. I mean, there's nothing against Herbert in the 5th because that's where he's going. And then Trey Lance, that seems a little low for Trey Lance though. But
Yeah,
I mean, but I said, but I mean, it's like I said, it's like I always say, it's just who you prefer more. Like I'm more or less draft with my heart than I do with my brain because I want to like my team. I don't want to draft somebody I don't like and then they fail, and then I don't like them even more. So I, I would I'll say Trey Lance in the 11th. That's something I
I'm
got.
going with you. Trey Lance in the 11th for one of the reasons. I mean, it might if it's super flex, the decision's harder. He didn't mention that in there. I'm not sure. I forget from conversing with him,
I'm
but I'm
guessing
thinking.
Herbert in the 5th has to be one quarterback because he's going in the first with the superflex, right?
Oh, but he could have got him like last year before they thought he'd be bit 2 years ago. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
I said so. But if it's super flex, I might jump on Herbert, but if it is one quarterback, Trey Lance in the 11th is a steal because in the 5th round, you're getting some stud receivers that you can get in there to fill in your receiver roles. And Trey Lance in the 11th, you can pick up another quarterback. We talked about how quarterback after like number 6 is pretty much you're pushing points there. So I'd totally go Trey Lance in the 11th with that one. Superflex, I might take Herbert in the 5th because Herbert's going to go in the first round of a Superflex draft. J.K. Dobbins, same draft, I guess, same league. J.K. Dobbins in the 8th or Eli Mitchell in the 8th?
I think probably Dobbins in the 8th. I mean, he's going to be practicing again, so I think he's healthy. They don't really have any backups, and he's going to be the guy. And Eli Mitchell, there's like 5 running backs in San Francisco. You never know who's going to pop. Could be Eli Mitchell, but it could be every other guy too. I think J.K. Dobbins is a little safer.
I'm on board with you. My heart says Eli Mitchell. Like I want him to have that really good year because I'm not high on him. But yeah, Dobbins in a running offense in the 8th. Dude, that's a 5th round pick. So if you keep Lance in the 11th, Dobbins in the 8th, you get to draft. You're gonna essentially start in the 3rd round when you keep two keepers, kind of like that. But it's a fun thing through. Felipe A is from Facebook is asking: Is Rashad Bateman the last wide receiver one on the board to draft in a redraft league? And Bateman's going. I mean, Bateman's still going in most places. I don't. Some people wouldn't say he's a wide receiver one. He's going like 27th, half point PPR on Fantasy Pros.
But I think he's the Ravens wide receiver one though. So as far
Like
as
other teams of the 32.
yeah, the 32, he would be the last. I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, have to go in and I mean, it would probably be pretty close. I mean, I think Rashad Bateman's game is going to have to rely on touchdowns. He's going to have to score a lot of touchdowns. I don't know how many yards he's going to be able to get. So he's going to have a heavy load of touchdowns. But that very could well be true.
I'd put him right above the end because you're going to look at Amari Cooper. I think he's going to do better than Cooper this year with it Brissett, or you heard it first a couple weeks ago. Garoppolo is the quarterback, and I mean Elijah Moore, him and Bateman. You like Moore a lot. I'm starting to grow on Moore. Whoever the Lions' number one receiver is, There's a whole bunch of them there. I don't think he's the last. I think he's in that. He'd probably you do tiers, so he'd probably be in that tier of the last team wide receiver one. But I'd have him higher up because I'm higher on Bateman than some people. But that's also because I mean Lamar Jackson is the quarterback MVP. So what can I say? But as we're getting into the season, we're getting excited for our annual bold prediction show. Second annual. Who would think in the second year of the podcast there'd be a second annual bold prediction show at the end of August? We're looking for some people that are interested to have a couple moments of fame here on the podcast. All you got to do is enter. We're not going to randomly say, hey, we like you, come on in. Last year, as we were getting started, people had to repost us. This year, we got a couple ways to enter. I will mention we mentioned them last week. They're in the linear notes. I'll put some stuff out throughout the week. But really, the main way to enter is to share the Fantasy Couriers or join Underdog, and we will put you into the drawing to be on here. You'll just share what you did, give us your name and a screenshot. You can email us at thefantasycouriers@gmail.com, or you can send us a message on any of the social medias that we have, and we will enter you into the contest. So we'd love to have people on here to just share their wisdom as well and have a fun time with the bold predictions. I sort of previewed one of my bold predictions I'm holding on to for later on. But now a message from our favorite sponsor.
Underdog Fantasy is the best and easiest place to play fantasy sports. There's no waivers, trades, or lineup settings. Underdog Fantasy lets you draft a fantasy team in minutes, hours, days, weeks, or in our case, maybe even months if you're playing best ball.
Sign up now with the code Couriers, and they'll double your first deposit up to $100 in bonus cash. In case you missed that, when you make your first deposit of $10 or more to $100, they'll give you free money. So if you give $100, they'll give you $100 free that you can use on the site. With their slick mobile app and user-friendly website, you'll have no problem jumping in and drafting your squad. Join Underdog today, and don't forget to use the code Couriers. A link is in the note in the podcast. Now back to the podcast. And speaking of Underdog, we are pleased to announce the JJ Wang Invitational Best Ball Tournament. $5 tournament, 12 teams jump in. We got two of them. Can you knock us off? Can you knock off the namesake of the tournament, JJ Wang, in the JJ Wang Invitational? Link in the notes and on the Facebook page.
Yeah, it feels good to have my name up there like that. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, you are now big time. There's going to be an official, you're like a famous old dead golfer, you know. There's something named after you.
I'll take it, man.
Wide receiver. What'd you think of that one?
Yeah, that was good. At least we'll never have to pay him to continue doing this.
Yeah, I give him food, water, shelter, space. You know, all he needs to survive. So excellent job, Grayson.
Great job.
So on Thursday, this week's later episode will be our wide receiver rankings episode. I'll do my numerical. JJ Wang will do his tiered wide receivings. It's his favorite episode of the week. I know you love it. I know the audience loves it. So they love seeing what we got. People make comments like, "Dude, really? My wide receivers? I'm zagging a little bit. You're going to be a little shocked with some guys I put in some places. As you probably saw a couple in there going, what? Huh? Because there's a big chunk of them, and wide receivers are pretty awesome. But today we're going to go through 5 categories of wide receivers like we've done the last couple of weeks. I'll post a picture over the weekend after you've listened to the podcast. You can see it. If you want to take notes while you're listening, feel free. But we're going to go through our MVP, sleeper, dud, guy we're high on, and a guy that could prove us wrong as we go through wide receivers. And we're going to start with our wide receiver fantasy MVP. And honestly, I could rate Justin Jefferson, but that's like the low hanging fruit. So it's sort of, don't we always look at this sort of like who could, upon the return you get for them, really set you up for success when you might not have thought about it before based upon your.
I feel like a lower ranked wide receiver that finishes as a higher ranked wide receiver is more of value to you than Justin Jefferson, who you picked second overall. You expected Jefferson to be there, so that's not really an MVP. Well, I guess as far as fantasy, he's gonna score a lot of points. So yeah, he is an MVP. But I feel like there's more valuable if you draft a guy in the 4th round or the 5th round and he returns like 1st round value.
So yeah, both of our guys are actually relatively close. I was last to the sheet, or I might have written your guy. Like we're both high on your guy, so we'll save your guy for a second. I'm gonna start with a guy I touted a lot last year. I think thanks to Russell Wilson, Um, my last year is going to look good this year. I chose Cortland Sutton. I love Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton's the big frame. I truly believe, from what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, that Sutton is going to be Wilson's number one in the AFC West OK Corral shootout that they're going to have 6 games out of the year with those guys. And they're going to let Russ cook. You're more of a fan of Judy. That's why if you saw the video, his face winced when he saw that I said Sutton because he's a Judy guy. I'm a Sutton guy, and I just believe Sutton's going to get back to his 2019 numbers where he had uh, 72 catches, 1,112 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I think all of that goes up. His catches are going to go up. His yards will go up somewhat. I think he's not going to get as many because he's going to get touchdowns. Russ likes to throw to the big guy in the end zone, and he could be pushing 10 touchdowns easily this year in that offense. Maybe go over that, and I'd say over 1,200 yards, over 10 touchdowns, and that gets him up into that fantasy MVP based upon where you will draft Cortland Sutton.
I guess it's possible. Like you said, I'm more of a Judy fan. I'm not sure who Sutton was competing with for targets when he was playing at that level. But probably I don't know if it would be as good as someone as Judy. I think
It's
Judy's
probably
going.
Tim Patrick.
So I'm pretty sure Judy's going to demand more targets than that number two was. So I'm like it's going to be pretty even. We'll see. Like I said, I like Judy more. You like Sutton more. I can see a world where it does happen for Sutton, but I'm not thinking that it's going to.
Right now, he's about half point 24 consensus. That'd be a a low end wide receiver two showing up and wide receiver one. That would be an MVP.
Like I said,
That's good.
I think it's going to have to come from touchdowns, like you said. I think he's going to have a lot of touchdowns. I think it's my guy is. I think my guy's already projected to be a wide receiver one. He's like number 12 on the list, right? But anyway, I think he has the ability to finish as like a top three in his offense, and that's Michael Pittman. This first year, I mean, I got it. This first year, he had what? My bad. I apologize for this. He had
I got
500 yards, and then his second year, he had 88 receptions and 1,000 yards. So, in year one, he had one touchdown, which was terrible. Second year, he had 6 touchdowns, and I think all those numbers across the board with Matt Ryan as the quarterback, probably being the best quarterback, obviously the best quarterback that he's had. I think the targets go up possibly over that 150 receptions, possibly definitely over 100. And the yards and touchdowns both go up. I think he has double digit touchdown potential, and I think he can pop off and be a top three wide receiver.
Right now, he's consensus 13 off the board, and I think he's too low. I have him, and I'm crazy. He's my number 7 wide receiver currently, and I want to put him higher, but I can't with the 6 guys I have in front of him. But I'm halfway closer to one than most people are.
Yeah, I mean, he like I said, and there's no competition for targets. I think he's obviously the guy. There's no body that's nearly as good as him. And Matt Ryan likes to feed his number one target, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, and all the way back to the beginning of his career.
And the only thing that I'm hearing a lot of chatter too talking about Colts world is everybody that plays for the Colts is ginormously tall. So I think Michael Pittman, in my mind, is going to get yards out the wazoo. Kind of like Julio. I think Julio had what 3 touchdowns. He had those minuscule touchdown years, but tons of yards, and he was still a high end wide receiver. I'm curious, and I don't know what's going to happen with Cox, Woods, Pierce, all these other big guys in there. But I think Matt Ryan's going to kill it this year. I think Michael Pittman's going to kill it, and there is nothing from me. So wide receiver sleepers for us, we could call this our favorite rookie wide receivers that we're both in love with because that's about right, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said, a sleeper is. I don't want to say it's usually going to be a rookie. It doesn't have to be, but I mean that's a good place to start because they're always low and there's always hype around them because you don't know how good they really going to be. So that's a
Yeah,
true
not a
sleeper,
clue.
right? Like that's a true sleeper. You have no idea, but they could pop.
So your guy, I'm gonna let you go first because I know your heart is really with this guy. We had a conversation about him last night, and you've loved him from the get go. And I think you're still hurt because we talked about you winning him in an auction league, and then 2 hours after we recorded, done.
Yeah, like I said, I expected that. I mean, it did hurt a little bit, but I kind of knew that was coming. But yeah, my guy's George Pickens. He's probably my favorite receiver coming into the draft. He went to a very good spot, and I think he has the potential to end up being the wide receiver one in his rookie year. I mean, I think he's kind of already beaten out Claypool. He had a touchdown last night in in the preseason game. I know it's only preseason, but when your guy does good, I mean, you get to talk about it, right? They just signed Deontay Johnson, but Johnson's going to be that, I don't want to say underneath guy, but he's going to get his looks. But Pickens is a big play guy, going to score the touchdowns, and I think the upside is there for like if he's being drafted as a wide receiver, I think 65 or something crazy. I think that's really low. I think he has top wide receiver 36 potential at this point.
That's it for me. The long term signing of Johnson took away some of my long term love for Pickens, but talent comes over top. I I'm not a giant Claypool guy. I just actually got my first share of Claypool, but we'll see what comes in. I like Pickens coming in. He's a guy I have on a couple of my rookie drafts as well, and so we're in a lot of agreement today. We got to find something here that we totally despise. The other one says we'll get there eventually. Oh, okay, yeah, we're getting next. My guy, I have been in love with since May. He was one of my draft picks in one of my early auction leagues, and now he's everybody's darling. Everybody all of a sudden knows this kid out of Nevada. His name is Romeo Dubs. Romeo Dubs, rookie receiver, best rookie receiver for the Green Bay Packers. I've not been a fan of Christian Watson the entire time. I just something felt wrong about that they maybe reached for him, but Dubs is doing nothing but show out in practice. Right now, he is the consensus 70. He is the consensus 70. His average draft position is 70 wide receiver number 70 and half point PPR. I can't talk. I should just edit all that out. I'm going to leave it in there so I sound ridiculous. But when you get praised by Aaron Rodgers as a rookie, like initially he was saying nothing about the rookies, only talking about the guys that were the veterans. And all of a sudden recently, he is talking up this kid. Aaron Rodgers, I even heard a beat reporters talking about Aaron Rodgers after practice was sitting down and talking with Dubs about what he's doing great and so he's having conversations with one of the greatest quarterbacks of the last 10, 15 years who's going to take him under his wing. There's nobody else there. We love Lazard. We think Lazard's going to go good. And the rise of Dubs is making me worry about Lazard. Is Lazard only going to be a wide receiver? Is Lazard that guy who is a good secondary guy? I don't think so, but maybe because Dubs is looking so stinking good. He got a touchdown from Jordan Love threw 1,000 interceptions and then a touchdown to Dubs. So he got a touchdown there, and this everything is going up for him. And that's a dude that if you can sneak in late, I forgot to draft him yesterday because I wanted to get the guy that I think I'm low on, but I missed out on him. But I got him on a ton of teams because I just think he's razzing and he's gonna be great.
Yeah, that was the argument at the draft last night that our boy David made, that Aaron Rodgers has been talking him up. And that's the sign that you want. You want your Hall of Fame quarterback saying how good you're playing, you're giving him advice and stuff like that. I feel like most quarterbacks do that anyway to young receivers. It's just,
Aaron Rodgers is kind of a jerk. He'll ignore you.
well, I mean, maybe. I mean, we might think Aaron Rodgers is a jerk, but we don't know what he's like on the football field, right? We have no idea. He's probably a very, very good teammate, and he wants to succeed just as, more than what we do. So he's going, if he's got somebody he knows is going to be good, he's absolutely going to try to make him a little bit better. There's room in the wide receiver room for him. I want to say already like the number two, just like on hype alone, right? I
Yeah.
still think Alan Lazard, Alan Lazard may not be a wide receiver one, he's going to be a solid wide receiver two. Then that's what you need from people like Alan Lazard. But I think Dubs has potential to make plays, and in this offense, you got Aaron Rodgers throwing to you. If you're on the field and he likes you, he's going to throw you the ball, man.
Yep. That's Devontae Adams. So next one we have is our duds. Wah, wah, wah. And my dud is a guy who had a great year last year. A guy who I think people are gonna overdraft and regret, and that's Debo Samuel. Debo, I love Debo. I had one Debo and I traded him away to get Kyle Pitts, and I was rooting for Debo. I got snaked on him when he was a rookie, and I've always been a fan, mainly because his name was Debo from Friday, and that's legitimately where his name came from, which cracks me up. But there's no way that he can do what he did last year. He got paid, but last year his money came off of rushing. 365 yards for 8 touchdowns. take that out, he still had a great year. 1,400 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. But if you take away 8 touchdowns and 350-ish yards of rushing, which I don't think he's going to see a lot as much of this year, he's a really good receiver, not a great receiver. So he's not going to stink up the world, but he's not going to be what he was. And I also believe that as part of that, Ayuk's going to be we're going to talk about him in a bit, but Ayuk's going to take some of that, and Trey Lance changing the quarterback, and he's a different kind of quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo is. And I think that's going to change his value.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't add anything to what you just said without repeating everything you just said. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
So this we'll go somewhere where we might
No,
actually
no.
disagree here. So I know you don't want to say this. All right, so my guy's going to be Tyreek Hill. Obviously, I don't know if it's kind of obvious to say, but they said the offense just isn't the same. The volume isn't the same. The targets from Mahomes aren't going to be the same kind of targets from Tyreek Hill. I don't know if the explosive targets will be there, but I see Tyreek Hill and Debo Samuel kind of like finish in the same spot. Like in the same, you could almost put them like back to back in rankings. Like if you say Debo would be like a number 17 and Tyreek Hill would be like number 18, or if you want to go lower. I just think there's too many people to throw the ball to and just not enough volume in this offense and in Debo's offense, as we'll continue talking about with the next guy. Like I said, he had 159 targets last year. I don't think with Jalen Waddle there also getting close to 150 targets last year. I don't think both of them are going to get 150 targets. That's way too much. So they're probably going to eat from each other and more or less let's say both of them get 100 targets. I think that's probably a little closer. And of course, their numbers are going to go down with less targets.
You'll be shocked. I agree. I have Tyreek Hill consensus is number 7 half point PPR on Fantasy Pros, and I have him at 14.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I have Waddle at 13. I
Yeah.
think Waddle's a better receiver for the system. I think Waddle and two is a better thing. I think Tyreek's going to be fine. I think having those guys is going to be frustrating, and I have both of them in different areas on different teams because one could be good, the other could be bad that week, or one could be fed not bad, but one could get the feature. What we can hope for Tyreek in his second year at 105 targets, 75 receptions, at 1,100, almost 1,200 yards, and 7 touchdowns. But yeah, 15.8 per reception. So he's got to be the streaker, and Tua's got to hit him. And if he does that, he could have a similar line to that and be okay. But yeah, dud as far as he's not going to be a top 10 receiver. He's going to be great for best ball. You're going to hope you hit him on DFS. And I think people are. I don't have my Tyreek Hills. I got through Dynasty and redraft. I probably won't because he'll go too high. So I agree with you, and I think those two people always asked me when they signed him. I said I think him and Waddle are really going to be sort of neck and neck, like one just elevatoring up and down. So I can't go wrong with you there. So next one, who's a wide receiver you are higher on than most? I alluded to yours, so I'll let you tell us why.
All right, so my guy is Brandon Ayuk, and it's like I said, just goes along with what you were saying about Debo. Debo's good. George Kittle's good, but I also think Brandon Ayuk is good. Like I said, and I'm not saying Brandon Ayuk could be a wide receiver one because I don't think the volume is going to be there in that offense for all these guys to be receiving. I think Brandon Ayuk is a better receiver than let's say Debo. And I think they're going to be way closer in their rankings than most people think. And then you throw George Kittle in there. That's why Debo comes down. I think Ayuk goes up, and I think Kittle just kind of stays in the same spot where Kittle is. Like I'm super high on Ayuk. I think he's going to be a stud. Evidently, Trey Lance likes him, and when your receiver likes you, I mean that's a good place to start. I think Debo is still going to be good, but I think Ayuk is on the same level as Debo.
I heard that Ayuk got in the doghouse last year because he didn't. Apparently, he's a moron. Let's just put it quite simple. He didn't realize you had to condition in the off season. Like he thought because he came in the COVID year where everybody was like secluded and away from nobody, that the next year he just did the same thing. He just stayed and played video games and came to the system, came to practice, and that's why they were all ticked off at him. And apparently he's coming back healthier. If he gets his head in the game, kid's got talent. I mean, he without playing half the season had 800 yards last year and 5 touchdowns. And Trey Lance has a big arm. He is the stretcher. So yeah, IU could have a stellar year. If he's a knucklehead like last year, he's in big trouble. But yeah, I can't say I disagree with you on there. I'm high on Hollywood. Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown. I was talking last night with some guys. I was like, I was giving away Marquise Brown for peanuts. I was trying to throw him away in one of our leagues for like a third round rookie draft pick. I didn't, and this was before last year. And then last year, he just sort of showed up in the world. Like the year before, he had 100 catches for 8 touchdowns, but only 760 yards. Last year, he eclipsed 1,000 yards, got 6 touchdowns on 91 catches, and that's with Lamar Jackson, who doesn't pass as much and was injured a bunch of times and or COVID or whatever was going crazy throughout that team all over the years. And then he gets to now go with his best buddy on a moving offense, high paced offense. There are no other receivers because Hopkins is out for 6 weeks. So him and Ertz are going to eat for 6 weeks. And once they see how good he is, Hopkins is going to come in, slot into a number two receiver, probably hurt Ertz more than Brown because of a different skill set. And Hollywood is going to have an amazing year this year. I mean, I do have Hollywood ranked. Where did I see him? I was just looking at. I got him ranked as my 18th receiver. Usually he's about 24, 25 ish, and I just think he's going to have a stellar year. I have him everywhere in Dynasty because I just think he's gonna show out this year. And yeah, the end.
Yeah, potential. I mean, potential there. I mean, you can see it. I mean, Kyler Murray's a good passer. He's got a good deep ball. He get outside, scramble to the outside, and Hollywood's running down the field, streaking, and he just, you know, chucks the ball down the field, kind of like how it was with Lamar Jackson. But I think he's going to get more action. Um, I don't know if you want Kyler Murray to run as much as you want Lamar Jackson to run. He seems to get hurt a lot. So I feel like you want Kyler Murray to pass more, run less. So the more he passes, the more it helps out Hollywood Brown, obviously, because it fits his skill set and their friends. And I'll keep saying, when the quarterback likes you, you're going to get opportunity. And if you take advantage of that opportunity, they're going to keep throwing it to you. And he's the number one wide receiver. I mean, they're like clear cut. No, nobody else.
He's ahead of Bateman. Although I got them in consecutive rounds in a startup draft. But last one we have here is wide receiver that you were high or low on, but think you can be proven wrong. Like this guy, you're super high on. My guy, I'm actually lower on, and I'm starting to rise on. Because I was talking bad about him before, and that is Sky Moore. Sky Moore, Kansas City Chiefs rookie receiver. I was like, oh, I was not a fan. I was like, they're drafting a Tyreek Hill replacement. Like, I still believe I'm starting Christian Watson. I think is that flop of Adams replacement, but Sky Moore is out to prove me wrong. He has been outworking, outplaying all the wide receivers on that team. The coaches are seeing it in the film room, in the workroom. The coach says that he is a perfectionist, putting in the extra effort needed to show out. He's making toe taps. I mean, it's only a training camp, but everything is looking like this kid could be disgustingly amazing, and Mahomes might have just fallen into the luckiest thing he could happen because Cole Hardman was supposed to be Hill and he flopped. They signed Juju, and Juju, uh, is he a number one receiver? I can't claim credit for this, but I've heard a lot about Juju recently, and I've been on the Juju train. Like, dude, he's in Kansas City, he's gonna be great. But they're talking he had done well when he wasn't the guy. His great season, AB blew up. When there was no number one there to sort of give him that extra, not as much coverage, he didn't show out like he did. So maybe Sky Moore takes over that role. Juju has a great year as a two. And I mean, really, we know the number one's Kelsey. But Sky Moore is showing out. He could prove me wrong as much as I've been talking bad about him.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, I think I've grown more to like Juju in that offense here the last 2 weeks. Sorry. So I'm kind of in favor of Juju here, not Sky Moore. Sky Moore might be good. Like I say, he's a rookie, so we have no idea. Like he could be like the true sleeper coming out of nowhere. But it's like I say, it's possible. I don't see it right away. I think Juju has like more of a bounce back season. Like you said, he's not really the number one option. We got Kelsey, but like he's number one wide receiver. He's probably gonna get the number one coverage. So we'll see how it goes. Juju's always been the number two, but maybe Sky Moore can be that number one. Like I said, I haven't kept up with, I haven't heard a lot about Sky Moore, so I can't say a whole lot. But like I said, he was drafted. I mean, people liked him coming out, so I guess there's something there.
And your guy, I'm sure no one's heard of that listens to this podcast is.
That my guy's Gabe Davis. I don't think anybody could be any higher on this guy than I am. I mean, literally, my love for this guy started on a single, like 15-yard touchdown on like a Monday night football game. I seen it and I was like, who is that guy? And ever since that, the next day, I went out and traded for him, and he's been my guy ever since. And like the production is there, you can see it. He's just never gotten the full season. His rookie year, of course, he's a rookie. He wasn't highly drafted. Come in and still had what, 7 touchdowns, 500 yards, something like that. And then the second year, like I said, he really wasn't used in the beginning of the season. Came on at the end. People do bring up that 14 target, 3 catch game at the end of the season last year. But I bet if you go back and look, you'll see a lot of wide receivers have a high target volume game and then not catch very many passes. So I'm sure it happens to a lot of receivers. I mean, he's not the true number one on that team yet, even though I think he can be really, really soon. I think he definitely eats into Stephon Diggs's depth value. I don't think Stephon Diggs could be a top 5 guy with um, Gabriel Davis, but I also see a world where Gabriel Davis isn't that guy, and just continues to be 35 catches for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. But I'm 75%. No, you know what? I'm like 95% confident he's much better than that, and I think he's going to show out.
Wow, I love Gabe Davis. I don't agree with your take on Diggs, and we'll talk about that on Thursday. But yeah, Gabe Davis, what do we have him for? 175,000 catches, 3 million yards, and 225 touchdowns?
It's pretty close. I mean, it's by the time the season starts, I mean, it's going to be infinite everywhere across
What
the
do you think a
board.
real stat line? What your personal prediction of Gabe Davis for the year? Like
I
real
don't
stat.
think he's going to be like a high catch guy. So we're talking 80 catches. So let's say like 15 yards a catch, 16 yards a catch. I don't know what that average is out. And 12, 13 touchdowns.
You're talking like a healthy AJ Brown kind of season,
I
more or
think he's
less.
better than you. Oh that
Give or
kind
take.
of
Yeah.
yeah, but I think I
Yeah,
think he's better than AJ Brown.
I love him. So JJ Wang, as we wrap up, give us your last bit of wisdom about wide receivers.
I mean, there are a lot of these guys. Like I keep saying, I don't want to draft running backs in the first 2 rounds. But look, if you don't draft running backs in the first 2 rounds, you're going to be stuck with not very good running backs. So there are enough wide receivers that you can draft those running backs high, even if you don't want to. I mean, like you said, Pittman's low. We like Gabe Davis, he's low. Waddle might be a little lower. Um, Sutton's going to be a little lower. So you can always find those guys, but to pick up for your running backs in the first. But just remember, there's so many guys you don't have to reach for one particular wide receiver. They're always there. And as all, trust yourself and trust the process.